We feel joy and grief, attachment and heartbreak, pride and shame, love and resentment. These feelings, for better or worse, color every corner of our existence. They bring texture to our stories. They help us connect. But sometimes, they trap us. And that's why I'm here to talk about a concept that is often misunderstood, even feared: emotional detachment. Today, I want to reframe it, not as a withdrawal from life, but as an invitation into clarity, peace, and power. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold. It's not about becoming indifferent. It's not about rejecting love, or disconnecting from others, or suppressing our humanity. Rather, emotional detachment is the art of letting go. It's the ability to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them. To allow feelings to arise and pass, without clinging or identifying with them. It is presence, clarity, and strength rolled into one. Too often, we confuse intensity with depth. We assume that if we are deeply moved, devastated, or entangled, we must be truly alive. But in truth, emotional entanglement can become a prison. When we are constantly reacting, when our moods are dictated by the words and actions of others, we hand over the keys to our peace. Emotional detachment gives us those keys back. Before we dive deeper into what detachment can offer, let's take an honest look at what life feels like without it. Many of us live as emotional hostages. We wake up in the morning and immediately reach for our phones, texts, emails, social media. Before we even brush our teeth, we've already absorbed the opinions, criticisms, and dramas of others. Our mood rises and falls based on how many likes we get, how someone spoke to us at work, or whether our plans go as expected. We become addicted to emotional validation. We seek comfort in the approval of others and feel crushed when it's absent. We personalize rejection, internalize failure, and catastrophize minor setbacks. But what is the cost of this constant emotional turbulence? It costs us mental clarity. It clouds our judgment. It drains our energy. It causes us to act from fear, anxiety, and insecurity rather than strength, vision, and self-respect. It keeps us small. Detachment is not a shutdown of feeling. It's a conscious choice to step back from the emotional roller coaster, to witness, to reflect, to respond with wisdom rather than react with chaos. So what happens when we practice emotional detachment? Let me paint the picture. 1. Inner peace becomes your default. You stop living at the mercy of every emotional wave. You realize you are the ocean, not the wave. Your peace becomes anchored in something deeper than praise, deeper than validation. You are no longer hijacked by every comment, every misunderstanding, or every disappointment. You develop the grace to let things go. Someone insults you? You don't retaliate, you assess. You decide whether their words are true or worth your energy. If they aren't, you move on. No bitterness, no internal war. This is freedom. 2. You cultivate stronger, healthier relationships. Ironically, detachment makes relationships stronger, not weaker. Why? Because when you are not emotionally dependent, you stop clinging. You love without fear. You give others space to be themselves. You no longer guilt trip, control, or manipulate to avoid loss or discomfort. Detachment means you can say, I care about you deeply, but I do not need to own you. I love you enough to let you go if I must. This creates respect. It builds trust. And most of all, it fosters relationships based on mutual freedom, not fear, not need, not codependency. 3. You become less reactive, more strategic. Detachment sharpens your mind. You begin to see things clearly. When you're no longer ruled by emotions, you can evaluate situations with perspective. You respond rather than react. You don't make impulsive decisions driven by fear or anger. You take time to understand your own mind and that of others. You learn to pause. And in that pause, your power grows. You start to realize, not everything needs a response. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion matters. 4. You gain self-mastery. Detachment is self-respect in action. It says, I will not give anyone or anything the power to disturb my inner state. And with that decision, you begin to reclaim your life. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of emotion. You start becoming the author of your story, not the victim of its circumstances. You learn to watch your emotions as messengers, not masters. That's not repression. That's evolution. Now, a critical clarification: emotional detachment is not avoidance. It's not pretending you don't care. It's not shutting people out. It's not bottling your emotions. That's emotional suppression, and it will eventually explode. Emotional detachment is presence without possession. It is involvement without obsession. It is love without control. It is clarity without coldness. You can grieve and still be detached. You can love and still be free. You can care and still have boundaries. Think of a firefighter. They run into danger with focus and courage, but they don't panic. Their calm does not mean they don't care. It means they are centered. That's the kind of emotional strength we're aiming for. You may be wondering, this all sounds powerful, but how do I do it? Let me offer a roadmap. 1. Develop self-awareness. Begin by observing your triggers. What sets off strong emotional reactions? What patterns keep repeating? Don't judge, just notice. The moment you observe your reaction, you create distance from it. That distance is the seed of detachment. 2. Challenge the stories you tell yourself. Emotions often arise not from facts, but from the stories we tell ourselves. He ignored my message, he must hate me. She didn't invite me, she must not value me. Stop. Challenge the narrative. Ask yourself, is this true or is this a projection? Learn to separate facts from interpretation. 3. Meditate and breathe. Meditation is the gym for emotional detachment. It trains your mind to observe without attachment. Even 5 minutes a day of mindful breathing can work wonders. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. Breathe. Inhale clarity. Exhale reactivity. 4. Set boundaries. Detachment is impossible without boundaries. Learn to say no. Learn to step back when needed. You are not responsible for fixing everyone. You are not obligated to absorb toxicity. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. They protect what matters. 5. Detach from outcomes. One of the hardest, but most powerful, forms of detachment is detaching from outcomes. You do your best and then you let go. You give your heart, but you don't cling to how things should unfold. You learn to trust life's flow. This is not passivity, it is wisdom. Let me leave you with this thought. When you detach, you don't stop caring. You start caring better. You begin to love from a place of fullness, not lack. You begin to act from a place of power, not fear. You begin to live not at the mercy of the world, but in harmony with it. This is the ultimate freedom. This is the path of peace. This is the strength you carry within you. And the beautiful part? It's not something you have to chase. It's already within you, waiting to be claimed. All you need to do is let go. Let go of the stories that no longer serve you. Let go of the fears that cloud your vision. Let go of the idea that you need to control to feel safe. You are already whole. You are already enough. And with detachment, you will finally remember that. Now that we've explored the concept of emotional detachment and how to begin practicing it, let's take this a step further. Because detachment isn't something that just lives in your mind. It's something that shows up in how you live, in your habits, your responses, and your decisions. Let's explore how it impacts different areas of life. One of the most transformative places to practice emotional detachment is in your relationships, with partners, friends, family, or even colleagues. We often enter relationships with unspoken expectations. If you love me, you'll act like this. If you respect me, you'll never do that. And when these expectations are not met, we react, not just with disappointment, but often with anger, guilt, blame, or manipulation. Here's where detachment liberates us. Instead of demanding that others meet your emotional needs in a specific way, detachment allows you to say, I love you as you are, not as I wish you to be. I honor your path, even when it's different from mine. I offer love freely, but not at the cost of my self-worth. That doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or settle for mistreatment. On the contrary, emotional detachment strengthens your boundaries. You no longer stay in situations out of fear of loneliness. You no longer beg to be seen. You stop trying to fix people who don't want to change. You start choosing relationships based on mutual growth, not mutual wounds. Detachment makes space for love that is pure, spacious, and sustainable. A love that liberates, not confines. A love that says, I see you, but I do not need to own you. And I trust that what is meant for me will never need to be forced. Let's talk about another emotionally charged arena, your career and goals. We pour our energy into work, dreams, and ambitions. And naturally, we become emotionally invested. That's not a bad thing. Passion is powerful. But when your sense of identity becomes tied to your outcomes, your emotional well-being starts to hang on external results. A promotion, a raise, recognition, success. And when things don't go as planned, you spiral. Here's where detachment transforms your relationship with ambition. It allows you to work with dedication but without desperation. It allows you to pursue success without making your worth dependent on it. Detachment in your work life might sound like this. I will give my best, but I won't attach my value to this job. If this opportunity passes me by, I trust that something better is aligned with my growth. Failure is not an attack on my identity, it's a lesson in redirection. Detachment is not laziness. It is engagement without obsession. It's the discipline of showing up fully, while still being at peace with whatever unfolds. When you detach from outcomes, you don't lose your edge, you sharpen your vision. You stop reacting emotionally and start moving strategically. And that clarity? That grounded confidence? That's what opens doors. Let's shift to something deeply personal, your mental health. Many people today are overwhelmed, anxious, and burnt out, not because life is inherently chaotic, but because of their emotional attachment to every thought, feeling, and outcome. When you don't practice detachment, every mood feels like a crisis. Every bad day feels like a verdict. Every negative thought becomes a personal truth. But here's what detachment teaches you. You are not your thoughts. You are not your moods. You are not your circumstances. You are the awareness behind it all. The witness. The observer. Emotional detachment gives you the tools to say, here is anxiety visiting me again. I will sit with it, but I won't let it drive. You begin to separate yourself from the mental noise. You recognize emotional storms for what they are, temporary weather, not permanent reality. This doesn't mean you ignore mental health challenges. It means you respond to them with compassion, not panic. It means you start to own your inner world instead of being consumed by it. You go from drowning in emotion to surfing the wave. For many people, emotional detachment is not just a psychological tool, it becomes a spiritual path. Across ancient traditions, Stoicism, Buddhism, Taoism, and even mystic Christianity, detachment is seen as a way to free the soul. What does this mean? It means recognizing that much of our suffering comes from attachment to identity, status, people, ego, control. We try to grasp, to cling, to force life to conform to our expectations. And when it doesn't, we suffer. Detachment asks you to loosen your grip, to flow with life, not fight it. To trust that what comes is meant to come, and what leaves was never truly yours. The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." In spiritual detachment, we begin to release the need to possess. We start to rest in something deeper than outcomes. We begin to experience true presence. We realize everything is temporary. And in accepting that, we become unshakable. Let me now offer you a few more tools to help integrate detachment into your life. 1. Journaling for reflection. Write down your emotional triggers each day. Ask yourself, why did I react that way? What story was I believing in that moment? Is there a different way to interpret this? Journaling helps you create distance from your emotional state and process it with clarity. 2. The pause technique. When you feel yourself reacting emotionally, pause. Literally stop. Take a breath. Count to 10. Ask, is this reaction helpful? What does responding with peace look like right now? That pause is your power. 3. Mantras for detachment. Mantras can rewire the mind. Repeat phrases like, I release the need to control what I cannot. My peace is not negotiable. I am grounded even in chaos. Over time, these become your default mental responses. 4. Embrace minimalism and simplicity. Detachment isn't just emotional, it's also material. Declutter your space. Let go of possessions that no longer serve you. Practice minimalism as a physical reminder that freedom comes through release. You'll find your mind begins to mirror your space, clear, calm, and unburdened. Now imagine who you become when emotional detachment becomes second nature. You're no longer easily offended. You're not drained by every interaction. You don't chase validation. You don't fear solitude. You're able to say no with grace and yes with boundaries. You speak with calm. You listen with presence. You love with strength. You stop trying to control people. You stop trying to control outcomes. You simply live. Fully. Deeply. Wisely. And in this space, you begin to create, to serve, to lead, not from fear, but from freedom. You become a person of stillness in a noisy world. A person of peace in a chaotic society. A person of power, not the loud kind, but the silent kind. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything, because it already knows its worth. So I invite you, gently, courageously, to begin letting go. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the stories that keep you small. Let go of the fears that make you reactive. Let go of what is not yours to carry. And when you do, you'll discover that emotional detachment isn't a loss. It's a gain. You don't lose your passion, you gain your peace. You don't lose your humanity, you gain your clarity. You don't lose love, you gain freedom. And that, my friend, is where your true power begins,